Sitaram, once more welcome to Swadharma, carried exclusively on Samkhya TV on Thursdays between 6:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. Swadharma, where we huddle together and examine some of the writings of the divine writers within Sanatana Dharma. Be reminded, as we have often said, that these writings were never, they were meant for the world, the universal writings. And so we are in the course of discussing the writings of Sant Tulsidas via the Holy Ramayan. We are actually, for the past few weeks, have been discussing the core of Ramayan, which is the response by Bhagwan Shiva to Mother Parvati based on 13 questions posed by her on behalf of the world. These responses, as we have said from time to time, came to the lips of Kagbhushundiji, of Sant Tulsidas Ji himself, of the great sage Yagyavalk, all having sourced their information from Bhagwan Shiva. So we have discussed thus far the responses to 8 of the questions. Today we focus, beginning our focus on question number 9. And so we look at the Doha. Bahuri kahahu karunayatana, kinha jo acharajaram, Praja sahit Raghuvanshamani kimi gamani nijdham. So Mother Parvati asks that, O ocean of mercy, she's addressing Bhagwan Shiva here, Karuna Yatana, tell me about that Shri Ram, that supernatural Shri Ram. Praja sahit Raghuvanshamani, and the express question is, tell me exactly, precisely about his exit from the world, from the earth, as Shri Ram Charit. And this Shri Ram Chandra, together with his subjects, he exited Kimi Gamani Nijdham. And explain to me, Prabhu, the ramifications of this enactment of Shri Ram Chandra. This particular snippet sometimes poses the questions or poses the doubt. Possibly is 2 questions here, and it focuses on the word acharaj. Acharaj means supernatural. Now that is descriptive. Acharaj, Shri Ramchandraji's exploits from time to time, and very few as a human incarnation, as Narlila. Very few times he went into the supernatural display, because the core of his incarnation and the core of any incarnation really is to live the life of a normal human being, face the challenges, show methods how to surmount those challenges. Sometimes we might just have to circumvent them. And so there is little room for supernatural display. Hence it's an adjective here. We can think of 2 quick references where that came into the fore. That is when Shri Ramchandra revealed himself to Kakji, that great devotee who was able to see the entire cosmos when he was privy to what the Lord, inside of the Lord. And secondly, when Shri Ramchandra had returned from his victorious battle over Ravan, and all the citizens of Ayodhya, they rushed to see him in order to give them that solace and comfort. Each one saw a form of Shri Ramchandra. So it gave them that solace and comfort. And there again he displayed this acharaj, or this supernatural power. One can think of Premamagan Kaushalya, when Kaushalya Mata, his mother too, was in doubt after having prayed to the Ishtadeva lineage and having just put down Shri Ramchandraji, infant Shri Ramchandraji, to sleep. She saw him there in the prayer room partaking of the prasad, and when she returned to the cradle, she saw him there sleeping too. And so he revealed himself similarly to Kagbhushundiji to her, and she saw the entire cosmos. So these were one-on-one situations where his acharaj, or which is supernatural acts, came to the fore. But generally speaking, it was the part of a human being. Hence, acharaj is descriptive. It is not a question, it's a description of Shri Ramchandra. And so we go into that actual exit of the Lord from earth, from Ayodhya. Remember that most of the deities, all of the deities who came and took up their roles, many of them, just as the mere subjects of Ayodhya, they were devatas who, when Lord vacated the celestial region, they wanted to be with him, so they got their various paths. So at the time of his leaving the world, they all accompanied him back to the celestial regions, save and except a few, most mainly Hanumanji. And he actually told Hanumanji, Chiranjiva rahahutama jabaravi lagisha shishesh tihu sevat miti hati sakala dustar katin kalish. That Hanumanji, he instructed, you remain here as long as the sun and the moon grace and prevail in the skies, you remain here. And whoever finds themselves in distresses and difficulties, Dustar Katin Kalish, by coming to you reverently and by gaining your blessings, they will be able to hurdle those obstacles and handle and manage their challenging situations. So that was the portfolio of Hanumanji declared by Shri Ramchandra. Tihu sevat miti hasi sakala dustar katin kalish. So Hanuman has a pivotal role within Sanatana Dharma. And be reminded when we talk about Hanumanji, Ganesh Bhagwan, Saraswati Mata, etc. These are all manifestations to bring to the fore, to highlight various facets of that one God. So for instance, Hanumanji will represent resolve, strength, not only physical strength, but mental strength, the ability to fall, get up back and go on and wend our way through lives and not merely survive, but live life. And that is what Hanumanji represents. That's why we have mentioned from time to time the writings of these scribes are universal in concept. Because Hanumanji has such a main role, Shri Ramchandraji, or rather Sant Tulsidas-ji, clears up or elaborates within the very Ramayan himself about that Shri Hanuman, that among all the deities within our prayer structure, Hanumanji has to be part of that, a major part of that, because the Lord physically left him behind. Through prayer and mantra and structured prayer, we can bring any of the manifestations of God, any of the divine forms, Devis or Devatas, to our prayer room, within our hearts. But Hanumanji is there, he's on call 24/7. And because of that, there is a need to reciprocate, to show that love back to Hanumanji as he's there as our guardian angel. And there are many ways we can do that. For instance, there are actually 2 Hanuman Jayanti within each year. Remember, in the course of time, in the discussion of time, which will be a subsequent subject within our little discourses in the not too distant future, there are 28 ages, 28 kalpas, 28 rounds of creation in Sanatana Dharma. That is how time is chronologically divided. And there are each kalp, each round of creation, God comes, his finite forms also come. So there are the core kata or the core exploits doesn't really change, but there are little minor variations here and there. So in one round of creation, Hanuman came the full moon after the incarnation of Sri Ramchandra. So approximately 7 days after Ram Navami comes Hanuman Jayanti. In one round of creation, Hanuman came the very day before Diwali. And so we can actually celebrate the birth, the coming of Sri Hanuman at least on 2 times each year, 2 major times each year. And the reason for bringing this to the fore, when we celebrate a Jayanti, we sit in satsang, we get more of the details and of the exploits of the deities, and in this case Sri Hanuman Chandri. So we give ourselves an opportunity to hear about the glories of Sri Hanuman. Another undertaking we can do, and it's a simple, easy maneuver. It's his 12 revered names, which fortunately through courtesy Samkhya TV is aired every morning around or at 6 a.m. where we have a prayer structure going, and within that prayer structure, in paying reverence to Hanumanji, this mantra is recited where the 12 revered names of Hanuman is declared. And this is yet another way where we glorify Hanumanji, where we thank him for his abundant blessings upon us day in, day out. To every time we fall and we bounce back up, that is the grace of Hanumanji. Sometimes we call him in local parlance the comeback kid. That is Hanumanji. He gives us that ability to be the comeback kid. And so it's not a matter of just reciting the names. It has a lot to do too about, as we recite, we encapsulate a bit of the history of Hanumanji. For instance, in those 12 revered names, Om Hanumanjani, it starts Om Hanumanjani. So we pay reverence and obeisance to Hanumanji with his name Hanuman, and right away it clicks. Hanuman got that name, as we know historically from Sanatana Dharma. He got that name when, having been struck, Hanu, being the jaw, man to be known by, something about the history and the life history of Hanumanji about his jaw. That is when he was struck down by the Vajra, by the thunderbolt of Indradev, and so his father Pavandev stopped all the 49 air currents from blowing. The physical environment became uncomfortable for life, and so Pavandev demanded that so there will never be a return of this, that his son will never be in such a position. He asked all the deities to grant him immunity to their various weapons. So by extension, when we take that name Hanumanji, and we must understand that when we go to him, we also have that immunity or that resistance to any of the unwarranted effects of those various weapons which the devatas display, which they have at the beck and call, for instance, fire. And so we can go on and on. So just by the mere mention, Om Hanumanjani, we just started those 12 rare names, it should begin to click in our mind as we go along. And so in that way, we pay the necessary reverence to Sri Hanuman. So in the course of our satsang, we will elaborate on the other 11 names. Again, on Sri Hanuman, paying reverence to him before journeys, that's something that often escapes us. Remember, Hanumanji in the Panchmukhi form, in the five-face form, the second of that is known as Garud Maharaj. And Garud, that fast transportation of Vishnu Bhagwan, the sustainer, granted Hanumanji that ability to be swift in undertakings, to be safe and swift. And so it is always prudent that before we embark upon journeys, more so journeys of consequence, but it can be daily, regular journeys too, because accidents can happen at any point in time, God forbid. We should pay reverence to that form of Hanumanji in the Panchmukhi form, with his form of Garud Maharaj. So these are some of the ways which we can pay obeisance to Sri Hanuman, as we say, in gratitude for all that he does and continues to do for us, even without our asking. Hanumanji sadhu sant ke tum rakhwari. It's a line that we are familiar with in Hanuman Chalisa. And Hanumanji, just as Shri Ramchandra left him on earth, so too mote sant adhik kar lekhi. Shri Ram had also said that in the absence of physical manifestations, there are the sages and saints to whom we can go for guidance and for knowledge, etc. And those very sages and saints, they depend on the protection of Sri Hanuman for their sustenance, for their well-being, for their ability to be benefactors to the world. That too comes by Hanumanji's grace. And we often remember that Hanumanji, in Hanuman Chalisa, it is analyzed that a sadhu is technically a spiritual aspirant. He's on a journey. When he has accomplished, he is given the title Sant. So from beginning to end, sadhu to Sant, it is Sri Hanuman who protects them. And Hanuman Chalisa points out that there are inanimate creations that are also like a Sant, in that they are of assistance and help to the world. We can think of Vitap, the trees, it does help. Sadat, the rivers, Giri, the mountains, Dharani, earth, because that is actually quoted in the Chaupai. But the difference between a sant and those achad or immovable parts of creation is that we have to go to the river to quench our thirst and get our water for whatever we have to perform. Likewise, we'll have to seek shelter in the mountain, as the case may be. But in the case of a sant, he moves to us. And that's the huge difference which Hanuman Chalisa recognizes and expresses, all in an effort to show us that Sri Hanuman even takes care of those who are reputed to be the guides and the role models of this creation. They depend on Sri Hanuman. Question number 10 posed by Parvati Mata, as we have said, on behalf of us. Puni Prabhu kahahu jo tattva bakhani. She says, my Lord, Prabhu, tell me about Panch Tattva, the elements, the 5 elements that comprise the body specifically. Jehi Vigyan Magan Munigyani. She says, because it amazes me, it amazes the world how the spiritually wise, the spiritual adepts, they are immersed in contemplating on these 5, as we say, inert elements of the world. And she asks, tell me about that. What is the secret that engages the attention and the contemplation of the sages and the saints? So we look and produce some of the answers that have been declared in the Holy Ramayan. And these 5 elements, of course, are earth, air, fire, water, ether. How are they represented in the body? Earth, via the tissues, the organs, etc. Air, there are 5 in number. We are accustomed to inhalation of oxygen, expulsion of carbon dioxide, but that is only one of the 5 airs that comprise the body, and that is known as pran. There is saman, which is located at the region of the navel, and those who are inclined with biology will understand when we talk about that motility of the intestine that helps the process of digestion. That is the saman we are talking about. That is the force of that air that drives that process. We have udan, which is basically how the head is, how it receives oxygen. What is the driving force? Which air in this body drives that force? So that is known as udan. We have apan, which is the expulsion of waste gases. And of course, we have vyana, which is the air that runs throughout the body from the neck down and drives the various transport systems, etc., etc. How essentially the food that we intake, the air that we breathe, reaches the minutest cell. So air is not only just in intake of oxygen and expulsion of carbon dioxide, it receives these 5 divisions in the body. So Parvati Mata asks, tell me about those airs that pervade the body. The third element she speaks about is fire. What is the fire in the body? The body operates at approximately normal temperature, 37 degrees centigrade, as we are all aware, because we have been ill from time to time. It's just a mere escalation, a small escalation of 37 degrees. And the body goes through a bit of morbidity, sometimes requiring medication, sometimes requiring rest, and sometimes we have to be vigilant. The medical practitioner has to be vigilant and monitor that the temperature doesn't escalate to a figure that could produce, very unwanted consequences. And we look at the other end of the spectrum. What about the temperature drops? So if the temperature drops, I think we're in serious trouble there. So the body has to maintain its optimum temperature, and that is where the fire exists. And mind you, 37 degrees can be hot. Then the other element she speaks about is water. Tell me about the water in the body. Well, 55%, roughly 55% of the blood is comprised of plasma, and plasma is basically water content. So that is where the water is located in the body. So we think of blood. And finally, ether, which is space. What is space in the body, she asks Bhagwan Shiva. And each cell, the cell being the smallest component of tissues, etc., each cell is bounded by a very sensitive, thin membrane, a porous membrane. And how we prevent one cell by friction rubbing with, against another cell and the contents being poured out, the membrane being penetrated. How do we prevent that? There are the interstitial cell spaces, these little pockets of ether that cushions the cells, and so we can have the coming together, forming a tissue, forming organs, etc. So these are the 5 elements which pervade the body, which Ramayan goes into much more detail than that. We're just skimming the surface here to give a broad idea about understanding this body. And the question is, this body, these 5 elements come together, and there is so much we can do with this body. Sometimes, unfortunately, we choose to do negative things, but there is so much positivity that can emanate from this structure. One of the core principles of Sanatana Dharma is Kritagyata, or gratitude. How then do we give gratitude to these elements? And we have an opportunity every single day as we reach to our prayer room, as we reach to pray, to give this Kritagyata, or this gratitude. For instance, well, for once, it is actually done at the death ceremony. That is why in the death ceremony, at the hour of cremation, there are 5 pradakshinas, or 5 circumambulations of the corpse before it is burnt, whereby that express act is to acknowledge. When we circumambulate, we give honor. So on behalf of the person who has passed on, 5 representatives are asked, at least 5 representatives are asked to do that circumambulation, and each circumambulation gives honor and credence and gratitude to one of the elements that comprise one of the 5 elements that comprise the body. But there is so much more we can do. We don't have to wait on the death ceremony for someone to do it on our behalf. We too can do that on a daily basis. And how we can do it? Earth, by honoring Prithvi Mata. The very first step in prayer, which when we get to the prayer room, the designated area, is to touch the earth and touch to the forehead. Even if we gather for a normal puja with a Vedika, etc., and all the samagri, the first puja after the preparatory rites, the first puja that is done is Prithvi Puja. So that is a given. That is understood. But we just have to be a little more cognizant of the practices, transfer what we see in a main puja into our very own personal puja. So that's the first thing. Before we even pay obeisance to Ganesh Bhagwan, who is Pratham Puja, we have to pay obeisance to earth, because where are we going to put Ganesh Bhagwan? He has to come and sit or stand in our prayer room, which is upheld by earth. So earth first, then Bhagwan Ganesh, and that's the opportunity every day. And it's better if we just accompanying that physical act of touching the earth to pay obeisance by a short mantra, Om Shri Prithvi Mata Yai Namaha. And there are a lot of potent packets of mantras that we can expand upon for all the deities, including Mother Earth. Seeing that she does so much for us, maybe we should up the monte, as it were, as we go through life, and sometimes tweak and change the mantras to very, very potent ones, which are not time consuming, may I add. Then the air, those 5 airs that we speak about, which on as far as the universe is concerned, have multiplied to 49 air currents. There are 49 air currents prevailed over by Pavan Dev, and we have an opportunity every day in the prayer room when we're supposed to be doing the Dashtikpal, the Gardens of the 10 Quarters, again carried on mornings on Samkhya TV at 6 a.m. where we offer prayer to these Gardens of the Quarters. It is always good and always advisable that as we do the directions or do the mantras, we turn to the direction and honor each of the deity. So if when we turn to northwest in our prayer designated area, that is where Pavan Dev sits. And the short mantra, Om Shivaya Ve Namaha, we acknowledge, fully credited, giving honor to Pavan Dev. Then fire. As you do that pradakshina, as we turn around in the prayer room, honoring the Gardens of the various quarters, Agni Devata, the fire god, sits on the southeast of wherever we are praying. So we turn to that short mantra, Om Shri Agnaye Namaha. What about Varun Devta, who is the deity of the waters? He sits on the west. So even before reaching Agni Devta, Om Shri Varunaya Namaha, as we face the west. And of course, ether is governed by Dewdev, which in another form is, or in another appellation, is Indradev. But really and truly, having so many portfolios, it is always good. It adds weight and merit to one's prayer structure that you identify the Devta or Devi separately by their relevant names, which highlights their portfolio. And in that way, we give honor to Dewdev. Actually, Dew is the physically, it's between earth and heaven. So one may then be minded to look towards the skies as that prayer is offered. These 5 elements, however, they are of little or no value in one context. And we allow the pronouncement of Shri Ramchandra in Kiskindha Kand to make that declaration. So we examine. He said to Tara, this is Tara whose spouse Bali was just felled in battle by Shri Ramchandra. Kshita Jalapavaka Gagan Samira Panchara Chitya Adham Sharira. So Tara came all distraught. She has lost her husband. And Shri Ram was quick to point out to her, O Tara, what you are looking down and weeping and wailing about is actually Kshiti Jalapavaka Gagan Samira. Kshiti is earth. It's just 5 elements that have served your husband. Jal, of course, is water. Pavak is fire. Gagan will be ether. And Samir is air. These are just 5 elements that are before you there, that have come together. But Pancharati Dhamcharida. But they are now base elements because of the absence of the soul. Once one passes on, the soul immediately exits the body and will hover around that body till the Mritakaram, till the rites, the final rites are performed. But without the soul, the body is adham. And you know, he told her, Jiva Nitya Kehi Lagi Tumrora. He says, knowing that what we have to dispose of here are the 5 elements, but that which we cannot dispose of, the Jiva Anitya, it is everlasting, indestructible. Kehi Lagi Rova, Kehi Lagi Tumrora. Why are you crying? Understanding this basic concept of Sanatan Dharma, O Tara. So he brought her back on her heels, and she was able to grasp what was before her here. So the point Shri Ramchandra makes is that we talk about the elements, we talk about honoring the elements, but these elements coming together in the body only has value if we pay attention to that part and parcel of God which we call the soul, which when realized is called the Atma, which if we go through life's sojourn without paying attention to spirituality, it remains a Jiva. But at the same time, it has the potential to transform, and because of that potential, it lends the value to this body. So somewhere along the mix, apart from giving honor to the elements on a daily basis, we also have to give honor and give spiritual food for the soul that is within each and every one of us. And then the honoring the 5 elements will complete the picture. And as we say, how do we do that? How do we give, what is the food the soul needs? It's just needs an environment of spirituality, an environment of prayer, an environment of satsang. So once more, we thank you for being in audience with us as we go through the questions, the answers which constitute Ramayan. In the interim, till we meet and greet next week, have a productive, protected week. Sitaram.